Let's encircle Bill.
This just happened to be the one I had in the truck today. I have the exact same lopper that Mike had in the video, and it's a bigger bypass like this one. This is a ratcheting anvil. It has an area that the blade engages, and this is more for deader wood, because it cuts and crushes. So I don't typically use this unless I'm severely pruning something that has a lot of dead growth on it. For this, we're going to go back to, if I can get in here, I want to get these shoots out.
Tell them what the shoots are, Bill.
That, you're seeing it. This is either water sprouts or shoots. We want these off.
That fire ant pile over there.
I see that. I'm going to stay away from that. We may have to come back in and remove this cage and then redo it to get the rest of them, because we want all those out of there. That is a potential for an avenue for disease to get in here. Now, this tree had fire blight. I don't have the disinfectant with me today that I would ordinarily use to sterilize the clippers, so I'm just going to put the clipper there to show you where to cut. But we won't cut. Steven and I will come back later, or maintenance people here, your crew can come in and do that after the fact, but we just don't have the disinfectant.
Gotcha.
Didn't have time to get it.
And why is the disinfectant important again?
Yeah. All right. Here's the example. Let's say we have fire blight on this particular stem. What I would do is come in and cut back to here, typically 8 to 12 inches from the fire blight example.
Okay.
Because that way you're getting back into new clean tissue.
Okay.
If I cut into an area where there is the disease and it's on my clipper, I can transfer the disease from diseased tissue to healthy tissue.
Okay.
If I disinfect it, I have negated that bacteria.
Okay.
So I do not have to worry about transferring it from diseased tissue to healthy tissue.
So that would mean just once you cut, dip it in a solution, correct?
Here's what I would do. These are actually kitty bath crayon containers.
Okay.
That were given to me by...
Your grandchildren?
No. These were given to me by some of the neighbors' kids. They'd use them in the bath and they were empty. I can fill these up with Lysol. That's all I need. Something you can buy grocery store. Fill this with Lysol. Carry it with me. I don't have to carry the big jug. Squirt after each cut. Typically I have WD-40, which is a lubricant, a rust preventative, a light squirt on that, so that whatever corrosives that are in this sterilization medium will not attack the metal on my clippers. So there I've done two things. I've sterilized it and I've protected it for the next cutting. So that way we're able to come back in here, take off the diseased tissue. The tree is not dead.
Right.
The tree is not systemically diseased.
Mm-hmm.
It has the disease in specific spots.
Okay.
So you, as the pruner, come back in and take care of that the way I just described to you. And all the tools are treated that way. Anytime that you're in an area that you think you have a disease, go ahead, just do this as a matter of practice. It's the safest way that you do not contribute to the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? David?
Bill, if you want to go ahead and prune this one does have fire blight.
All right.
You can go ahead and prune it. If you really want to prune it. If you guys want to know, here's a stick. If after you touch your stick, do not touch any other tree. This is what fire blight looks like, even after the tree's dormant. If it's bent over, it looks like it's burnt.
This
It's actually
is what's
black.
called a shepherd's crook.
Yeah.
That's a symptom of the disease where that stem crooks over. If we were in the vegetative stage, these leaves would literally look like they've been hit with fire. Here, because we're in the dead of winter, it's all dormant, it's desiccated, they've dried out. That's what you see after the fact.
Okay. Just want to pass this around. This is dead all the way back to here, Bill.
Yeah, I think that's what we do. I guess it's right here.
Yeah.
All right, you see what I'm doing?
Yeah, that one's dead too. But we're gonna.
And And see how woody that is? There is no moisture coming up through. Even though it's dormant, that tissue should be more pliable.
Yeah, it shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Now see, that's where I would use the anvil clippers, because there I have more compound leverage, more mechanical advantage, and it will cut it. You know, I've got a pair of ratcheting ones. This is what I would use for vegetative tissue.
Bill, why don't we go ahead? Why don't you prune this as if if it was alive? And we'll just slice this off. Yeah, there we go.
All right. I would probably remove this right here. Would you hand me my bigger clipper, please? Thank you. Sir. Yeah, that's.
Well, just pretend like it's alive, Bill.
I am. And then we're going to take these center ones out right here. Because again, as the fruit weighs down on this, it could sever it right here. So I'm going to remove this right there.
So the disease is taking this tree out.
We'll see. The jury will know probably by late March or April.
It's way back.
I'm going to take off all the understory growth right here.
Bill, was there anything that we could have done differently, or is it just in the numbers? Sometimes you get good ones, sometimes you get bad ones.
There's again, had we had time to do more research,
Okay.
we could have suggested, again, Tree Charlotte did this.
Right.
They provided the trees for you. I don't know how much research they did. If I were doing it in the future, when we're called in to do it, we would look for more resistant, or the most resistant cultivars that we could find.
Okay. So sourcing them is a little better.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now there's some other tricks that the commercial nurseries don't do this, that we're going to be doing after the jail. It's called a gravel trench or a Missouri gravel bed system, where you actually grow saplings in pea gravel. You have no soil on it. When you're ready to transplant, I actually will grow them hydroponically there, so that when we're ready to transplant, I transplant a bare root plant. I don't have to worry about the ball and bag. I don't have to deal with the pots. The problem with the pots is the nurseryman is not a true steward. They go from a small pot to a bigger pot to a bigger pot. And the problem there is once those roots start to girdle, you are just transferring the problem. You are not fixing the problem. A girdling root, let's say I hold that and my hand doesn't move. As that tree grows, what's going to happen? It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Remember, my hand is rigid. So what it's going to do, it's going to choke off the transport of fluid up and down, respiration, transpiration. It's going to choke it off, and it will kill the tree. It won't kill it today, it won't kill it next week, but over time it will strangle that tree and stop that necessary pathway for fluid transpiration and respiration, the living component of the tree. Okay? That's what happens. Bare roots, you don't have that problem because it's not growing in a container. It's growing and spreading naturally the way it does out in the wild. You have just created an environment that is more beneficial for the plant.
Let me show you your pruners, Bill, real quick. While you're talking, I'm going to go to town.
Have at it. And if you need them, Dad's got the look.
So the way a healthy tree should look then, the center should be open, and so it should be like this then, right?
Fruit tree.
Fruit tree.
That's what I'm
Fruit tree.
having to teach Tree Charlotte
Right.
different from what they normally do.
Right.
These trees out here, you look at those pines,
Right.
they don't have that.
Correct.
This is what's specific about an orchard versus a stand of timber.
Okay.
And that's what's different.
That tree's dead.
Okay.
And the stewardship techniques are different than if you're a forest.
Gotcha.
All right.
Thank you.
Sir,
If you keep cutting the branches, would you be using more peaches by doing that?
ask that, clarify that question for me.
If you keep cutting branches, would you lose more peaches then?
Yes, you will, but you do that for a reason. Because if I have, let's say this branch is going here, and it's got bud, 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 bud. Just like you're going to grow up to be a big man, all right? If I have 20 of you on this branch, what stress is it putting right there as you get bigger and you mature?
It's gonna fall.
It's going to crack right here and break, and that could damage the tree irreparably. So what you do, you are sacrificing some, because the more weight you have out here, the more stress it puts on that joint. So by sacrificing here, you're able to get this bigger so that it can support more fruit in the future. You know, it's a pay me now, pay me later situation.
So quantity for quality.
Correct.
Because you're gonna get bigger, healthier looking.
In plain
fruits, right?
English, that is it.
Now, when you saw, I kept taking off branches. What the goal is have 6 main branches. So this one isn't the best shape. Naturally, you're not going to get perfection. But you want 6 in a round. So think of your hand, cup it up, and then add an extra finger. That's what you want it to look like. Well, here I got 2, 4, 6. Now, to be honest, this one's so small, I take it off, and we'd have 5. Now, these 5 branches would be the only ones we allow grow. So these 5 branches are going to get really big, and then we're going to let little branches grow off them when it gets bigger, when it gets stronger. But yeah, you literally butcher them, and a lot of people are scared to prune them. And if you're scared to prune, you actually lose your trees, because when they get heavy, they fall over, or you lose entire branches or in half the tree. So yeah, it looks bad now to get more later, to be better later.
Does that answer your question?
Great question.
And a lot of fruit trees are like this. If you guys are afraid to prune, don't be afraid. It's just you won't get as much. So my fig trees are 15 foot tall. Okay, I can't reach the tops of them. Now, if I let them to keep growing, other than I will never ever be able to reach the figs, their branches will start breaking.
Which is what we had happen at the office.
Yeah, they'll break and they'll fall down. So then you lose half the tree. So what's better, having a tree a little bit shorter or having it break in half? Yeah.
Now, from a practical standpoint, there are different grafting. Grafting is when you take one type of rootstock and you graft another plant onto it. And what that accomplishes is a dwarf tree that produces normal sized fruit, but allows you as the grower to have access to be able to pick it, as opposed to a 30-foot tree that the top fruit is inaccessible to a 10-foot or 12-foot tree that you can harvest all the fruit on.
And to simplify what Bill just said, guys, because Bill's using scientific terms. With some plants, you can take the roots and the stem and cut it off and put it on a tree that has a different stem and branches. You can Frankenstein the tree. Basically take the top of one and bottom of another and stick them together and they will grow. What that does is, if the bottom half of the plant comes from a tree that's really short and the top half is from a tall one, you put them together, it's going to keep it short. Okay, but you get whatever on the top. If you look on the internet, you'll see some crazy things. One is called a fruit cocktail tree. What they do is they take branches from a bunch of different trees and stick them all in one tree. So it's literally a Frankenstein tree.
How about a tomato and a potato?
Yeah, you can do tomato and potatoes. Potatoes are the roots, the tomato is the stem and the branches with the tomatoes on top. You'll have both. Now, granted, it won't be that way next year. You forced it to be like that. So after a season, it'll go away. It's not natural, but it does grow together. It doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't hurt the environment. It doesn't hurt pollinators. There's no lasting negative effects on it.
So you have your fries and your ketchup.
Yeah.
You only have them once.
Okay.
Just think about how you harvest potatoes and how you harvest tomatoes.
Yeah.
Tomatoes you harvest continually.
Right.
If it's an indeterminate. If it's a potato, you harvest it at one time. So you only had that plant for one shot.
That's right.
Now, I'm going to pass her on this stick while we have any last minute questions, because I know it's cold out here, guys. If you look right here, you'll see there's a black ring. Since this branch is dried out and dead, it's not as prominent, but that means it's fire blight. Okay, is that black ring in the stem. Who wants to pass? I'll go this way and then go around. All right, any questions?
Why didn't you cut this?
Why didn't I cut that one? That's one of those, yeah, I forgot it. I could kind of want it there. I could kind of not want it there. When you really start butchering, properly with pruners, I could take that off. But at the same time, I could take that off next year too. So some of the little stuff, as long as you get it within the first year or two, it's okay. But if you leave it on there for more than 2 years, you can't take it off anymore, because then you open a wound. It's like cutting off your arm. You don't want to do that. Any other questions? No? All right. Well, thank you guys for coming. If you have any questions at all, just see me or Bill.